Welcome to CITC 2337. This is the last lab for lab 3.2, and we'll be configuring DNS records. In this lab, we'll be using server B first to use DNS Manager to manually create an A record. We'll use Dns Cmd to manually create an A record. We'll explain Tempo's 2 settings. We'll enable round robin. And then on server A, we'll use NSLookup to display the state of authority record. We'll use NSLookup to display the DNS server. We'll use NSLookup interactive mode, and then we'll use DNS command to display a list of DNS zones along with enabling the aging and scavenging for all of the zones on server A. And then we'll explain any event logs entries pertaining to the DNS. So let's go ahead and begin with this lab. Right now we're in server B, and we're going to be using DNS Manager to manually create a record called TempHost1 in the student class 2050 DNS zone. So let's go over Tools, DNS, for lookup zone. Then we want to click on student class 2050, and let's just delete that from the previous run over of this lab. So let's do new host, and then for the name we just want to name it TempHost1 with a IP address of 10.111.12 at host. You can see it just added it, and let's go ahead and create a second A record for TempHost1 using the name consecutively after the last IP address. So let's just do TempHost1 and then 10.1.1.13. Enter. And then we just hit done. And then the next part we want to do is use Dns Cmd inside of command prompt. So let's go open up command prompt, and we're going to be creating a record through this command, Dns Cmd. And we just want to type out this lengthy line real quick. Class 2050 record add student.class2050.com TempHost2 is our name, is the record 10.1.1.14. And as you can see, add a record for TempHost2.student.class2050 at student.class2050 completed successfully. And then following this, we want to use Dns Cmd to open properties for TempHost2 round robin and explain the settings and what they mean. So let's go back over to DNS. Let's refresh this real quick. Properties, and let's explain this real quick. So you can see there's 3 options, and hosts is just the name of the record. FQDN is the host location in the domain. IP address is a network location inside of the domain subnet. So let's go ahead and enable round robin. If you go over to server B, properties, and advanced, you can see that enable round robin is already checked. And let's go ahead and use NSLookup to verify our round robin. So let's open the command prompt, and we're just going to type in this command, NSLookup TempHost1.student.class2050.com, and enter. And let's see the addresses that pop up. We got 10.1.1.13 and then 10.1.1.12. Let's just refresh this command, and you can see that it changed addresses, and that is because of what we just set up a minute ago, having the same name and then the 2 different addresses. It just flops it out. It's a load balance for DNS servers. And let's just move on to server A. Inside of server A, we're just going to be using the NSLookup command to display the SOA record, which is state of authority record for the class2050.com DNS zone, and we explain the information that it returns. So move on to our command prompt, and we're just going to be typing this command, ns lookup. Let it load for a second, and then we just want to type set type equals SOA and then enter. And then we want to type class 2050.com. And you can see the output of the command is primary name server, responsible mail address, serial, refresh, retry, expire, and default TTL time to live. So the primary name server is authorized DNS for the domain, and it's the domain that hosts all the files. Responsible mail address, this address right here, is administrator of the domain. This serial number is the current revision of the state of authority record, which will change to 62 when it will update, and it will update all of the servers following that. Refresh is 15 minutes, and refresh is pretty much a secondary DNS server will wait that long to check for changes to the SOA record, which is this. So every 15 minutes it will check the serial number to see if it has been updated. Retry is 10 minutes, and retry is similar to refresh time, where a secondary server will wait, but it will wait until retrying after a zone transfer fail. And then expire, which is 1 day, will wait 1 day to stop sending queries before the server stops sending queries if it fails a complete zone transfer. So the last one is default TTL, which is 1 hour, and the time to live will hold the cache of data inside of its storage for 1 hour before it is removed. So now we're just going to use the NS interactive mode to display only the NS records for the class 2050.com zone. So let's go ahead and type out a command, and what we're going to be typing in is set type equals NS, enter, and then do class 2050.com. And as you can see, this is all the namespaces for the class 2050.com. You have server DC, server B, and then our server A address. And let's just do the next part, Dns Cmd, to display a list of DNS zones. And let's just get out of this. Do Dns Cmd /enum zones. And I'll display a list of all the zones that you have listed. So right now we only have secondary on our server B or our server A. And let's move on to the next part. We enabling aging and scavenging for all zones. So what we want to do is open up our server manager, and going to be going with tools, DNS. Then we just want to extend out forward lookup zone, and we just want to right click our server A and do set aging scavenging for all zones. We just want to check the scavenging scale records, hit OK, apply settings to existing Active Directory integrated zones. We do not have one set up, so we're just going to hit OK, and we have it applied. And for this last part of the video, we're just going to be looking at the event logs pertaining to DNS, and we're in the event viewer for the server A, and we're under the applications and services logs for DNS server, and we're just going to be looking at some of the logs. Let's see, the version 61 was changed for this one, version change for that. Seems to be the general thing. Let's see, a zone request transfer request for the secondary was refused. Alright, and DNS server started. Alright, and in this lab we use DNS Manager to manually create an A record on the server B. We use Dns Cmd to manually create an A record. We explain the temp host 2 settings. We enabled round robin, and then on server A we use NS lookup to display the state of authority, the DNS server. We use NS lookup interactive mode, and then we displayed a list of DNS zones using Dns Cmd, and then we enabled aging and scavenging for all the zones. And then after that we explained all the event logs entries pertaining to DNS.